With this activity, students are going to create a virtual museum. The topic for this one is Mesopotamia, but you could really use anything for the virtual museum. And again, this is just a quick roadmap where students will travel throughout these 4 different activities to complete this big kind of project to demonstrate their knowledge about Mesopotamia or whatever you decide. On this first part, students are going to design their virtual museum. So right here is this activity for students, and they're going to go to Google Classroom and they are going to create their virtual museum on this slide deck. With this slide deck, they are going to have a copy. So if you use Google Classroom, everybody will get a copy. And here you can see everything is already hyperlinked. So students just will add their artifacts to the museum. Okay, so again, everything is kind of laid out. On these first 3 slides, they're going to pick their cover of which option they prefer. If there's time at the end, they can design their own cover if you would like them to, or if you want to add like an extension or something like that. Again, here's the kind of map of the museum, and students, again, everything is hyperlinked for them. Right here, students will put artifact 1 and artifact 2, and right here, if they click right this blue link, it's going to take them to these slides down here where they can add additional information about their exhibit. They could add an image or video about it, maybe using Flipgrid. They could also over here use the text box and type additional evidence or justification or anything like that to make their response a little bit more detailed about why they included that in the museum, or a little bit more details about that exhibit. So again, they will click and it will take them to all of these different slides. And as students are creating, they'll be able to add their different resources into their museum. And then at the very end, they can design this background or wallpaper to the creator's office. If they use any resources or websites, they can link and do a bibliography for those resources for any of these activities that they might have done in before. So after they do that, there's kind of like they aspire to do this. So that would be like the creator's office, creating that main slide, and then they'll add those references. Once they do that, you will go and have your students submit on a Google form. But I put in the Google Sheet because it has AutoCrat already set up for this project just to make it easier on you. So what you're going to do is you'll go to File, make a copy of this document. If you want to, you can see the Google form. It's right here, Manage Form, Edit Form. And this is the form that you will have. On this form, you can add any additional information that you might need, or you can change these classes. It will not hurt the AutoCrat. Just do not get rid of the name and the URL. Those 2 pieces you will need, but everything else you can kind of manipulate as needed. So with this AutoCrat, what I will do is once my students complete the Google form, I'm going to give them a project number, and I'm going to organize it by the class. So once they all have a project number, and you can just start typing like 1, 2, 3, highlight these 3, and then drag these down, and it will number it for you. Once everybody has a number, then I will be able to use AutoCrat. So I'll go up to the tools or extensions, AutoCrat, and all you have to do is hit play. So open it, and then you'll just hit play, and it's going to send the students an email, and it's going to have their project number. That way no students' names are being used. So you'll hit that play button right there. It's going to run, and you can kind of see that it's starting. And once it's finished, the students will, again, they'll get an email, and they're going to get a document that looks like this, and this is their project number. So what I would have students do, and you can do this at any time. So on the first day, once they have their copy, I would have them do it right away. That on their museum template, students will go in and they're going to, instead of student name, write project number. Okay. And then up here where it has their name, they're going to change it to the project number as well, just to keep things a little bit anonymous. So that way students don't know exactly who is who, but they can kind of see quickly what project number they're giving feedback on. After that, students will do a self-check. So after they complete their museum of their 6 rooms and 16 exhibits, they're going to go to slide 3 and complete this self-check. These videos in here are for the students to view, so feel free to use them. And students will quickly just grab this check mark, put exactly where they think they fell, and then they can revise if they feel like they need to try to get a higher score. So again, students will do a quick self-check. After their self-check, they are then going to review the museums. You will have to do this on the same day, and I would highly suggest using a timer as well. So again, once the students are kind of ready to go on this activity, let's open this up again. You will then have them start their gallery walk. So what they're going to do is on this spreadsheet is pulling from the submissions. So everybody again has that project number, everybody has this URL. You will want to hide this sheet once you're done with it. So you'll just go over here and hide it. And then what you'll do is you will copy all of the classes into the different spreadsheets if you have multiple classes. And then you can quickly just kind of see here. I can link all the projects here. So project 1, I would take this link, copy it, and then I would go to project 1, highlight it, hyperlink it, and then that one's linked. Same thing with project 2, project 3, and then I would add names of who is evaluating these projects, and those students will click these links below. After I separate these out, I will then hide the sheet. So then I will go in and I will hide the sheet. So again, go in, hyperlink all of the different projects here. If you wanted to, you could also hide this sheet and then share this with your students, and then they could link their projects for you. So if that is faster and easier for you to do, just give them all edit access or call them up in groups of 5 and help them do that. But they could just click it and hyperlink it for you. Could be a lot faster than you doing that work. However, they need a project number, so they still need to fill this out first. And then if you are going to have the students, I would just hide it so there's no student information. And then they just click that little link to hyperlink it, and then they would paste that link in. And again, you would add names of who is evaluating or giving feedback on those projects. So once students do that and they know who they are evaluating, again, I would set a timer and I'll put one in the slide deck. Students will then look over these different projects and give feedback. So what they're going to do is they are going to use a Google form, and students are going to give feedback on this activity. This is an EduProtocol idea that I kind of took from John Agrippo, and it's a gallery walk. So students are doing a gallery walk. They're going to use this Google form, and you'll just make a copy of it. Once you make a copy of this, you'll hyperlink any edits to here that you made for your example. Okay, and again, I would just copy these for my next classes. And then my students, again, can either hyperlink their projects to their number, or I can do it for them, depending on what you need for your students. Okay, so once students do that and I have my copy, you can change any of this that you might need to change. This one is for the museum kind of rubric. I just took it and added it to a Google slide. Also, every class has up to 30 projects. You can add more, or you can, on your Google form response, you can just start over when it's the next class. Okay, so either way, you'll kind of want to think about how you're going to organize that. Is every student going to have a different number, or are you going to keep the same numbers but different classes? So think about how you want to organize that. I was thinking number 1 red, number 1 blue, or whatever. Okay, so just think about how you want to organize that as well. Okay, once you are all set, you're going to change this link and send it to your students, and you can hyperlink it right here for your students. And then the next activity is students will reflect. So again, they're going to have a timer. They're going to go in and they are going to give feedback on the virtual museum. So they're going to put their name. They're going to pick their class. They're going to pick what project they're evaluating. And then they're going to pick 4 different exhibits. So instead of doing all 16, you could also change this if you're not doing Mesopotamia and maybe you're doing something with multiple different topics. You could do Mesopotamia, ancient China, or whatever as your headers. So then they're just grading that section. However, I'm just going to have students pick 4 different exhibits, and then they're going to give feedback on it. They're going to do another exhibit, give feedback on it, another exhibit, give feedback on it, and then their final one. And then after that, they're just going to answer one thing they liked and one thing they would change. So once that form is all done, then it's ready for the reflection part. So again, I would set up a timer for like 30 minutes for students to give that feedback. If they finish grading all of their projects, they can just go over to the next column and review feedback for the next column until they finish. So that way they're just giving more additional feedback as needed. So once students, again, have given feedback, they're now ready to reflect. So reflect is a little bit of a couple steps. So it's broken down into these bite-sized pieces for students. Students are first going to check their email. So this goes over how to search their email if they forgot how to find their project number, because they really do need to know that project number when they're going to the spreadsheet. So then they're going to search their number using the spreadsheet to look over their feedback. So right here, once you have your Google form, you will share the spreadsheet as view only. But there's a couple things you have to do before you do that. So let me try to open up my example one. And when students are doing that, again, there's a video for them to walk through how to find their number in that spreadsheet and kind of what next steps they need to do for them. So right here is my peer feedback. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of their, oh, that's not the peer feedback. This one is. I'm going to have my students, I'm going to hide these rows because my students don't need to know who. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of this into the separate areas. So right here you can see that I took project 11 and 12, and here are all of the information for those projects. So again, you're going to take away the student names and all of that information and just highlight from the project number all the way over. If you changed any questions on your Google form, you need to change them up here as well. So again, this is showing mine, and you'll need to change yours if you changed any of that. Once you do that, you will want to hide this sheet again so students cannot see it. You can also lock it if you need to, but then they will be able to see just the numbers for their project. After that, students will then copy and paste their feedback to their Google Sheet, and this is going to be found in Google Classroom. So once students do that, they are going to get a copy of this in Google Classroom, and they are going to take their responses. So if I'm on my Google Sheet right here, I was project number 11. They're going to take all the way to 2 down. They're going to copy this. And then they're going to go here to their feedback, and they're just going to put their mouse here. They have to put their mouse here or the formulas will get messed up. And right here, it's calculating the averages. So if I change this to like a 3, this one to a 3, you can see that my averages are changing based on what the student said. And over here, it's calculating the score. So then I could get the average if I wanted to. And then I can have my students write a quick reflection. So here's an example. And again, here is where the students would paste their information into their own spreadsheet. And again, it will calculate once they do that. Here's that Google form or the Google spreadsheet if you would like to. So again, they're going to copy and paste their feedback, and then they are ready to turn that in after they complete these 3 reflection questions. Okay, so I know this can be a lot. So if you need help, feel free to reach out. Happy to help as needed. But again, everything in here is kind of broken down for the students. There's a ton of videos, and I think this will be a fun activity for students to try, and I can't wait to see their creations as well.